This is the Good Governance Radio. Good Governance Radio.
Computer systems are offline.
This is the Good Governance Radio. GGR. Stay with us.
Your online radio. The new online radio that makes you happy.
The Good Governance Radio.
Hi guys, this is an open call for actors, television presenters, skit makers, both male and female. Montage Africa Media is scouting for young creative talents to be part of its new movie, television series and lifestyle vlog. All you have to do is upload a 1-minute video introducing yourself and telling us why we should pick you. Don't forget to use the hashtag. Hi guys, this is an open call for actors, television presenters, skit makers, both male and female. Montage Africa Media is scouting for young creative talents to be part of its new movie, television series and lifestyle vlog. All you have to do is upload a 1-minute video introducing yourself and telling us why we should pick you. Don't forget to use the hashtag Montage Africa Film. Don't forget to tag the following accounts showing on the screen. We can't wait to receive your entries. Bye for now.
This is the Good Governance Radio.
All right, a wonderful morning to you. This is your online radio station, Good Governance Radio, and it's Tuesday, the 27th day in the month of July 2019, and we're welcoming you to this morning edition of the newspaper review on Good Governance Radio. My name is Chris Bassi, and of course, this morning we've got 3 dailies for review. The Blueprint newspaper, we have the Daily Sun, and of course the Vanguard newspaper. All right, you can join our conversation with us in all our social media platform. We are live at Facebook. We are live on Facebook at Good Governance Radio, and of course we are on YouTube at Good Governance Radio, and of course you can also stream live at www.ggr.com.ng. Once again, also a warm welcome to you to this morning edition of the newspaper review on Good Governance Radio. Right, without further waste of time, we're going straight to our review of the first newspaper for the morning. And of course, I have with me here the Blueprint newspaper. The Blueprint newspaper has a bold headline that says, okay, let me start from this one. Why Kanu could not appear in court. FG produced a leader on October. John Dett's IPOB. MRA false DSS over selected media accreditation. Why Kanu could not appear in courts. Coming from the federal government with the rider. Produced a leader on October. John Dett, that's coming from IPOP, and of course MRA fault DSS over selected media accreditation. You can read details of the story on page 8 of the Blueprint newspaper. Kali A to unlock economic potentials of Cross River State. That's coming from Governor Benayade of Cross River, and you can read details of the story on page 22 of the Blueprint newspaper. 2 suspected armed robbers shot, arrested in Ogun. Page 9 of the Blueprint newspaper has detail of the story. All right, Pop, another 80-year-old first-class monarch abducted as Erufai suspends school resumption in Kaduna. With the rider medical doctor's wife, 1 other kidnapped in Benue. FG tax AIGs to deal with criminals element. Page 6 of the Blueprints newspaper has details of that story. And coming down, still on the Blueprints newspaper, PDP governors insist on e-transmission of electronic results. PDP governors insist on e-transmission of electronic results. And of course, page 16 of the Blueprints newspaper has detail of that story. Buhari signs 982 billion naira 2021 supplementary budget. Buhari signs 982 billion naira 2021 supplementary budget. You read details of the story on page 5 of the Blueprints newspaper. Why Nigerian judiciary must embrace technology. That's coming from the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibanjo. And of course, the details of the story is on page 9 of the Blueprints newspaper. Buhari off to London for Global Education Summit medical checkup. Right, 2 in 1. Buhari off to London for Global Education Summit medical checkup. All right, the final headline on the front page of the Blueprints newspaper has this one. NDDC don't write Buhari false or nations all bearing claims. NDDC don't write I beg your pardon, writes Buhari false or nations all bearing claims. All right, details of the story could be found on page 14 of the Blueprints newspaper. All right, quickly we move to the Vanguard newspaper with so many headlines on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. With the bold one, it has to do with the trial of Sunday Igboho. And of course, it goes thus. Igboho, FG, Benin's lawyers battle over extradition in court with so many riders, and the first one coming from the supporters as they insist Igboho committed no offense against Benin Republic. Journalists, supporters barred from a courtroom. Benin security operatives remove lead chain and cuff. He is not under any immigration-related probe. Ilan Omo Odwa insists. Gani Adams rallies Benin Monarch for Igboho, says we must stand by him. Afenifere warns FG to stop harassing freedom agitators as court releases 48 Yoruba Nation agitators. Right, a whole lot of reaction from this Igboho trial that is currently going on in Benin Republic. As at last night, I don't know, they conduct their court proceeding at night because it's at 11 p.m. last night. The court was still in session. Right, I think the proceeding actually came to an end at about a few minutes past 11 p.m. Last night. All right, we'll definitely give you more details on this particular story when we'll go on to read details of this particular story. But then you can also read it up on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Igboho, FG, Benin's lawyers battle over extradition in court with so many riders right there. All right, moving away from that and talking about another trial with another leader of a particular group from another part of the country, talking about Nnamdi Kanu. On this particular one, I have a pictorial representation of this trial that also took place yesterday right here in the federal capital. Protests in Anambra over what? Protests in Anambra over what? Kanu, Nnewi, Onitsha lockdown as supporters protest. Nnamdi Kanu, Nnewi, Onitsha lockdown as supporters protest. And I did talk about the pictorial representation, the picture story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper that has, the street of Nnewi and Onitsha deserted. And of course, with Nnamdi Kanu picture boldly, seen on this particular front page of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, still taking headlines on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, FG to end 30 billion monthly electricity subsidy. And next year, that's coming from the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibanjo. Buhari jets out to London for medical check-up, education summit. Entrenched e-transmission of polls results into electoral law. PDP governors urges NAS. Gunmen hijacked 3 buses, abduct 60 passengers on Sokoto Guzau Highway. FG begins payment of outstanding pensions contribution. Autumn, Tambuwal blasts FG for inflicting suffering on Nigerians. All right, everybody seems to be blaming the federal government, even coming from a governor, Samuel Otom, who has not paid salary for almost, only God knows the number of months. All right, we'll come give you the details of that story when we probably go for a short break and return. But then let's take the final headlines on the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper. Of course, the big story, the bold headline, the big headline has to do with the trials of, two of the most talked about individual in Nigeria, talking about Sunday Igboho and Nnamdi Kanu. Controversies trail Kanu Igboho's trials with the writers. DSS failed to produce IPOB leader in Abuja, cites logistics challenges as court adjourns to October 21. We fear he may have been killed. That's coming from the pro-Biafra group. Pro-Yoruba agitator also not brought to open court in Cotonou. I've rallied 10 Benin Republic monarch to secure Igboho's freedom. That's coming from Gani Adams. And let's see how that pans out. And Kaduna, bandits kidnapped first-class chief Bob Ham. 1 killed, others injured in Ibadan shopping mall. All right, coming down here, PDP governors insist on electronic transmission of election results, accuse APC of turning Nigeria to killing field. Additional promises economic diplomacy in Togo. Our 9-year-old girl rests Abuja Ebano supermarket. All right, sad one right there. A sad one that we saw the footage, the CCTV footage of the particular heinous acts committed by. They said she's a 9-year-old. No one knows what could actually inspire her to take such, action on someone's investment. Court orders DSS to release 5 Soweris men arrested in Dunamis Church. Buhari leaves for London for education summit, medical check-up. And the final headline on the front page of the Sun newspaper has this one: Kanu Assembly recommends sack prosecution of embattled anti-grafts boss. All right, that does it as far as the newspaper headline is concerned this morning on Good Governance Radio. We'll be going for a short break, and when we return, we'll take you through some of the details of these stories. And of course, you can react to any of these stories that might interest you. We have so many headlines. Is it the Igboho trials and the Kanu headlines? That's definitely one of the two of the headlines that dominate almost the front page of nearly all the dailies this morning. And of course, you can also talk about the PDP governors, insisting on electronic transmission of results, election results come 2023. All of these are stories that might interest you. But then let's go for this short break, and when we return, we'll go through the details of the stories that we've read before. To stay tuned, this is still Good Governance Radio. Of course, it's the newspaper review on the morning show right here. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is the Good Governance Radio. This is the Good Governance Radio. Good Governance Radio.
All right, glad to have you rejoin us on the show this morning. This is still Good Governance Radio, your number one online radio. And of course, this morning, at about this time, you know what we do here. It's about the newspaper review. And of course, taking a look at the major news that's making headlines right here in Nigeria and beyond. And of course, I've been able to do justice to that by taking you through some of the major headlines on the front pages of three newspapers this morning. The Daily Sun, the Vanguard newspaper, and of course, the Blueprints newspaper. So it's time to take you through some of the details of this story. And of course, prominent among the stories that I've read this morning is the Igboho and the Kano's trials, respectively, that took place yesterday in faraway Benin Republic, and of course, in right here in the Federal Capital Territory. All right, Igboho of FG Beninite lawyers battle over extradition in court. And let's take a look at the details of the story as it appears on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, Beninite lawyers were yesterday locked in a legal tussles over attempts by the federal government to get Yoruba Nation activist Chief Sunday Adeyemo, fondly called Sunday Igboho, extradited to Nigeria. Igboho says insisted that since Igboho did not commit any offense against Benin Republic, he should be set free, arguing that any attempt to send him back to Nigeria will endanger his life, considering invasion of his house in Ibadan by the Department of State Services (DSS) operatives last month. And prior to the start of proceeding at the Court of Appeal, the Cotonou in Benin Republic, yesterday, journalists and good number of his supporters were barred from witnessing the proceedings. It will be recalled that the Nigerian government is pressing Beninite authorities to extradite Igboho to Nigeria. Also recall that Igboho and his wife were arrested at Cardinal Bernardin International Airport, Cotonou, whilst on the way to Germany last Monday. But his wife, Robo, was released last weekend and a passport handed over to her. Earlier yesterday, the police in Cotonou dispersed Igboho's supporters who had traveled there to witness his trial. The security personnel arrived the court premises into a vehicle, insisting that everyone, including journalists, vacates the premises. One of the police officers told journalists that the president of the court called in order that they should force everyone out of the court except lawyers. All the officers wore black masks and wielded heavy guns as they ejected supporters and journalists out of the court premises. Igboho was said to have been brought into the court as early as 7 a.m. but was reportedly ushered into the prosecutor's chambers, thus depriving the public the opportunity of seeing him. And of course, let's take a few reactions following this particular incident. Journalists not allowed into courtroom. Benin security operative removed leg chains and call from Igboho. All right, and giving an update on Igboho's case in Cotonou, the communication manager for Ilana Omodua, Maxwell Adeleye, said Igboho was not under any immigration probe in Benin Republic. He said, and I quote, "We are pleased to inform all Yoruba people, including Toby here in the studio, and well wishes that the security operative in Benin Republic have removed leg chain and anchor from Chief Igboho since Saturday evening." And the quotes went on. Chief Igboho's wife has now been granted access to meet her husband 3 times daily. Medical personnel provided by a legal team have examined Chief Sunday Adeyemo. We reiterate that Chief Igboho is not under any immigration-related probe in Benin Republic. Okay, More reaction continues, and this one is coming from Gani Adams. Meanwhile, the Areona Kakamfo of Yorubaland, Iba Adams, has rallied 10th prominent Benin Republic monarchs in support of the Yoruba nation agitator. The monarchs were assigned to play both traditional and fatherly role in the ongoing trial. The story continues on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. Okay, trying to get a continuation of the story, right? So right here, talking about the Sunday Igboho story. Okay, it's not on page 7, it's actually on page 27 of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, I want to give you more reaction because this is a story that interests a lot of Nigerians, and our reaction has been threading these particular trials from both home and abroad. And of course, let's see what will come out of this one. Okay, talking about the Gani Adam as involvement, and of course, is pally with some other traditional rulers to get involved here. Yes, it says the role of the traditional ruler is to ensure that Igboho's right to freedom was protected without abuse or misjudgment. Adam, in a statement, Special Assistant on Media, Kenda Durami, said it is the duty of the Areona Kakamfo of Yorubaland and that of the other traditional rulers to support Igboho at this trying time, maintaining that the case against Igboho should not be taken with levity. Of course, more reaction of any ferry have not also been left out in terms of showing the concern with respect to this trial. That, of course, they say also the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Organization, Feni Ferre, commended the Olubadan of Ibadan, Obasali Adetunji Aje, one for sending a delegation to Cotonou, Benin Republic, where Mr. Sunday Igboho is facing trial. Of course, Feni Ferre, acting national and National Publicity Secretary Pa Ayo Adebanjo and Jari Ajayi commended the monarch for raising the delegation to be at the court where a Yoruba agitator is being tried in Cotonou. And of course, the release of 48 Yoruba Nation agitators. Meanwhile, Lagos Chief Magistrate Court sitting in Yaba yesterday revoked the bail of one of the Yoruba Nation agitator, Tajuddin Bakari, of course, the popular Ogboni chief, after being accused by the police for the murder of a searched water hawker, Jumoke Oyeleke, who was killed by a stray bullet during a protest. Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Kim Odumosun, charged the 48 Yoruba Nation protesters arrested on Saturday, July 3rd, 2021 at Ojota, Lagos, before a magistrate court sitting in Yaba. All right, so many reaction. Of course, that's just more. That's just much I can actually take or respect to that. But then you can read details of the story on page 5. And of course, this story also spanned to page 27 of the Vanguard newspaper. Igboho FG Beninite lawyers battle over extradition. With a lot of reaction following that. Of course, quickly, let's go to another man that is of interest to the federal government of Nigeria, talking about Nnamdi Kanu. And of course, yesterday, his own supporters were in their very best element to rally support for their man. Nnamdi Kanu needs to be locked down, supports his protest. That story is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Details of that story, I beg your pardon. Of course, quickly, let's take a look at the details of that story that appears on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, commercial activities were paralyzed yesterday in the commercial cities of Onitsha, Awka, and its environs, and the industrial town of Newi, as bonfires were used to frustrate vehicular movement in the two cities in town by people suspected to be members of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB. They blocked entrances into major markets thus forcing traders and their customers to remain indoors. Markets in Onitsha, Newi, and other places were also shut down in solidarity with Kanu, whose continued trial was scheduled for yesterday. But despite the shutdown in the southeast, the heavy security that was mounted at the Federal High Court in Abuja yesterday, the Department of State Services, DSS, failed to produce the 10 leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, continuation of his trial. Kanu, who was on June 27, returned to the country after he was reportedly arrested in Kenya, is facing a treasonable felony charge by the federal government preferred against him. Trial Justice Binta Nyako, on June 29, remanded him in the custody of the DSS, even as she fixed Monday, 26 July, to resume hearing on the case. Also yesterday, former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore was arrested by the police at the Federal High Court Abuja and later released. In a related development, a civil society organization, Amnesty International, has condemned the Nigerian authority for placing a restriction on the number of journalists that could report the trial of the leader of the IPOB leader. All right, is this just a Nigerian thing? Because over there in Cotonou, Benin Republic, journalists were also barred from gaining access into the courtroom for Sunday Igboho's trial. So if you say this is just a Nigerian thing, and I would definitely have everything, but because this same scenario also pans out right there in Cotonou. But then it's not good for the image of the African continent as a whole, because journalists are supposed to be, the bridge between whatever organization or whatever medium of government and the people. We are supposed to be there to get the general public informed and educated on what is happening. So there was lockdown in Newi and Oka yesterday. DSS failed to produce Kanu in court for trial. Site logistics problems. Just of course, police arrest Sowore in Federal High Court. And that, of course, these are some of the reaction surrounding the trial of Nnamdi Kanu right there in Nigeria. Okay, let's move on from the trials of these two individuals, of course, and take a look at some other story. All right, let's take a look at this particular story from page 16 of the Blueprint newspaper. That says PDP governors insist on e-transmission of electronic results. We've not heard the last or when it comes to this particular issue that has made headline for a very long time now, talking about the e-transmission of election results. And of course, the story appears on page 16 of the Blueprint newspaper. Of course, it's also prominent on the order dailies this morning. Governors elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has insisted on electronic transmission of results and kick against moves to force direct primaries on all political parties as the only method of selecting their candidate in future election. The Governors Forum, in a communique issued at the end of their meeting in Bauchi on Monday, noted that the mandatory direct primary, which contained in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, is prone to massive rigging, as evidenced by a situation where President Buhari scored about 15 million votes in the 2018 APC direct primaries, only to score 15 million votes from the entire country in the 2019 general election. Part of the communique read, and I quote, "On the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, the governors identified with the need for free, fair, and credible election in the country and called on the National Assembly to entrench electronic transmission of results of election in the nation's electoral jurisprudence." The meeting requested Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the only body empowered by the Constitution to conduct elections, to deploy appropriate technologies are necessary to ensure that the vote of every Nigeria is counted and made to count. The meeting further called on the Nigeria Communication Commission (NCC), especially the Universal Service Provision Fund (USPF), Nigerian Communication Satellite Limited, and ICOMSAT telephone companies, telcos, and all relevant stakeholders to ensure that universal access and service of information and communication technologies (ICTs) are provided, especially in rural and unserved and undeserved areas of the country before the 2023 general election. The meeting condemned the attempt to force on all political parties one method of conducting primaries, that is, by direct method only through the Electoral Acts Amendment Bill. The governor noted that the method is prone to massive rigging, as evidenced by a situation where President Muhammadu Buhari actually had a constructing figures, in the 2019 election. All right, that's just about that. PDP governors insist on electronic transmission of results. You can read details of the story on the page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, so let's take a look at this particular story. Buhari off to London for Global Education Summit. Page 13 of the Blueprints newspaper has detail of that story. Page 13 of the Blueprints newspaper has detail of the president departing Nigeria to London. All right, and it was just President Muhammadu Buhari Monday traveled to the United Kingdom to participate in the Global Education Summit on Financing Global Partnership for Education 2021 to 2025. The summit, which will be co-hosted by the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, and the President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, will bring together heads of state and government, as well as stakeholders and youth leaders, and provide a platform for partners to chart a way forward towards transforming education system in partners' countries through exchange of best practices. It will also offer the opportunity for leaders to make 5-year pledge to support GPE's works to help transform education system in up to 90 countries and territories. Deliberation at the summit with focus on the power of education and conversation between global champions, transforming education for girls, financing for impact and recovery, and what now? Priorities for transforming education in the coming 5 years, among others. The president will also be accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, Minister of State Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajoba, National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mungono, and the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Ambassador Metro Rufai Abubakar. After the summit, the president will spend 5 days for an earlier scheduled medical checkup and is expected to be back in the country in the second week of August this year. All right, so quickly, we'll not just draw the curtain on the show this morning without taking a look at the sport page of the Vanguard newspaper for sport lovers. Sports Vanguard this morning has some interesting headlines here. Okay. Anyana Choza Olympic hopes suffers blow. ITTF celebrates Aruna Quadri's humanitarian gestures. Sudan's Abdar Rasul refuses to fight Israel's Butba. Sport Minister Dari and dear self to Team Nigeria athletes. 13-year-old skill girl wins gold medal for Japan. That is a huge feat for a 13-year-old girl to actually win a gold medal for Japan. And of course, Japan are currently topping the medal table at the Tokyo 2020. Of course, are they hosting to win? We will see. Team Nigeria shines as Oshanike Toriola enter into record books. 8 Nigerian athletes undergo out-of-competition test. Barcelona, Neymar settled bonus row. Out of cards, Tokyo 2020, Diaz becomes Philippines' first Olympic gold medalist. Djokovic not unbeatable, declares next Olympic opponent. And Sport Minister Dari and yourself to Nigeria theme. All right, so that would definitely do as far as the sport headline is concerned. And of course, it will also take us to the end of our morning program this morning, talking about the newspaper review on Good Governance Radio. I'm sure you've enjoyed every bit of the show this morning. Join me tomorrow morning at about this time for another interesting edition of the show. Thanks to everyone who's contributed to the success of this morning program, particularly Toby Loba Akimbo, who's been on the console. Of course, my name hasn't changed. I'm Chris Passy. Tomorrow will be another day to have a good and fantastic Tuesday. And bye for now.
Good Governance Radio.